Hello, everyone, and welcome to Continuing the Conversation, live from the 2012 APWA Congress Expo floor. My name is Emily Barta, and get ready to talk about high-performing roads using scrap tire rubber. We know you have lots of questions, so be sure to go down to that lower left-hand corner of your screen, click on that Q&A button, and ask away. And now I'd like to introduce the Executive Director of the Rubber Pavements Association. This is Mark Belshe, and Mark, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
All right, so we're talking about high-performing roads using scrap tire rubber. So kind of let's start at the beginning. Where did this come from?
Okay, the original concept was developed by a City of Phoenix engineer in the early 60s. His name was Charles McDonald. And he started really literally messing around with putting tire rubber into asphalt in his kitchen. And he was actually trying to find a solution for like a roof patch. And he noticed that it was a very resistant material to reflective cracking and long lasting. So he started using it as a pothole patch. And from there, then the concept became that the tire rubber is actually a good modifier of asphalt cement. So what we're talking about today is a binder modification process. We're really not talking about using tire rubber as an aggregate substitutor in a dry process, although that can work very well when it's properly done. So anyway, it was invented in Arizona, and I know I get a question a lot of times, people asking, well, it's really a good thing, but it's an Arizona thing. And indeed, there is a lot of asphalt rubber done in Arizona, and there's a very good reason. Number one, it was invented there, and number two is it's easy to do. We have 300 and some odd days of sunshine every year, and so it's a very adaptable process. But actually, the biggest state using it right now is here in California. It's used in Nevada, Texas, Florida has a related process. Georgia's recently embraced a similar concept. But to get out of the Sun Belt, it's actually being used also in a routine basis in New Jersey on the Turnpike. The Massachusetts DOT is using it. The Delaware DOT is using it. A lot of the colder weather states are finding that it has a great application. I'm not telling people that it's for everywhere, everything, but it's a great tool in the toolkit that a pavement designer can use to address specific problems.
Well, you just said it's not the best solution everywhere. Where is it the best solution for? Like, why would someone investigate this for their own municipality?
Exactly. It's really a optimum product in paving operations and hot mix operations in an overlay situation where you've got a badly distressed road, very alligator cracked, but maybe it's not into base failure. So it would be a great product to do as a thin overlay because it really can hold back the reflective cracking. It has great aging properties, and it can be very cost effective, a life cycle cost effective in that type of situation. Similarly, in spray applications, you can also spray it in a hot spray type of situation, and it can be a very good, very cost effective in those kind of situations when essentially nothing else can address the distresses short of remove and replace. So it has, again, in the rehab market and in the overlay market, it really has a great niche. So it's a thin overlay technology. We're not advocating 4 inches or more of it, but in a 2-inch or 1-inch or even less overlay situation, it can be very cost effective.
Well, so for everyone here with us in Anaheim, is anyone currently using rubberized asphalt in their municipalities? And would you like to share your story with us? Because one of the benefits from being here is learning from our peers. And anyone joining us from home, are you using rubberized asphalt in your municipality? If so, how great is it going for you? Or what kind of questions do you have about using it in your local areas? Be sure to go to that lower left-hand corner of your screen and click on that Q&A button to submit your questions. Does anyone sitting here with us have any questions? Well, is crumb rubber put into asphalt just to get rid of scrap tires, or are there a lot of benefits of doing this?
Yeah, the short answer is no. This is economic environmentalism. Again, the tire rubber has proven itself out to be an excellent modifier of asphalt cement, and for the engineering properties, it's really that's why it's done. It's not really, unfortunately, I'm not going to stand here and say it's done to recycle tires. However, that doesn't mean that it doesn't recycle tires. It actually is one of the largest potential users of scrap tires in the nation when this market would really fully develop. We estimate that probably since the 2000s, early 2000s, are just our association members, and we're certainly not encompassing everybody that's doing this process. We've probably recycled over 60, 70 million tires. Wow. So the potential is huge, and scrap tires are a big problem for the nation. There's a kind of a rule of thumb estimate that one tire per every person in the U.S. generates a waste tire every year. So we're generating 300 and some odd million tires every year that need to find a home. And this is one of the higher end uses of these tires. A lot of these tires go into get burned in cement kilns and that kind of thing, and they're gone forever. Whereas as a modifier, a lot of the great properties are reintroduced into the pavement structure, and really brings a lot of benefits to the whole process.
So one of the benefits that you touched on was how it's cost effective. Why is it cost effective? What kind of examples do you have or do you share?
Well, when you talk about cost effective, you've got to separate out what is first cost, upfront cost, and what is life cycle cost. In first cost, asphalt rubber tends to be a little more expensive, and the reason is not so much because of the binder or the binder modification, but mostly because the binder modification leads you to using higher binder contents and higher application rates in the spray application. So because you're using more of the liquid asphalt binder, that tends to drive the cost of whatever you're doing, unit cost, up a little bit. But it comes back to you in spades down the road, because what happens is it has a much higher longevity. It ages much slower, and so you end up doing much less maintenance, and this is well documented over many studies. And so with the reduced maintenance over a lifespan of 10, 12, 15 years, you're going to see a much reduced life cycle cost. So again, when you talk about cost, you really need to be very clear whether you're talking about upfront or over the life cycle. And our buzzword is it lowers life cycle costs. So.
Well, our buzzword is we love questions from our virtual audience and from our audience joining us here in Anaheim, and it looks like we do have one from the virtual audience. Thank you.
We do have a question and a comment. Emily, thank you. Omar, thank you for tuning in. Omar's here in Southern California, and he has been using this procedure for about 15 years, mostly for overlay. Okay. But he does have a question, and I'm going to go ahead and read it because it has some technical rubber and public works terms. Can you use recycled conventional asphalt in the production of asphalt hot rubber mix?
Okay, can you use conventional wrap in producing new asphalt rubber hot mixes?
Can you?
Well, it's a topic that's under a great deal of research right now and discussion. The issue is there's twofold. When you're using wrap, you get concerned about emissions because as the wrap is introduced, not to get too technical, but I think that's some of our audience. As you introduce the wrap into the recycle collar, it has binder in it that can be subjected to the heating of the flame of the drum and can generate emissions. And I think that's been shown that can be dealt with. The other issue of using any kind of wrap, whether it's an asphalt rubber wrap or if it's a conventional wrap, is when you design a wrap mix, asphalt rubber in this case, you take a credit for the residual binder. And what the issue that people have been hung up on, especially when you're using conventional wrap, is how do you account, what kind of credit do you take from that wrap binder to reduce the binder content, if that makes any sense. So there is a study, I know Cal Recycle here in California, California Department of EPA, has funded a study. I think it's started almost a year ago with California, with the Los Angeles County, and they were studying exactly this issue. And I haven't seen the results of that, but I suspect in the end there would be maybe a lower percentage of wrap percentages. You might be able to use it with asphalt rubber.
Okay. And going back to the crumb rubber overlay, Tom is tuned in. Thank you very much, Tom. You mentioned 1 to 2 inches, but Tom would like to know, is there a minimum lift thickness for crumb rubber overlay?
Well, it becomes really an issue of your aggregate size. If you have a very fine aggregate size, like in a open graded mix with maybe just a standard 3/8, I've seen it laid as low as 3/4 of an inch. But you get into issues not so much related to the binder, but related to the aggregate. If the aggregate is small enough to go under the screed without dragging, then you can get pretty thin. I don't know why you'd want to go much less than 3/4 of an inch, though, because you're really not giving it a chance to combat reflective cracking and the aging properties. I'm not so sure as you get too thin that you're going to see all of that. But 3/4 of an inch that's pretty thin. That's a very small, very thin layer for a paver to use. So.
Well, and the other thing that's very small is the amount of time that we have left with Mark, the Executive Director of the Rubber Pavements Association. So if you have any more questions, be sure to input those now via that Q&A button that you see at the lower left-hand corner of your screen. And if anyone here in Anaheim has any questions, be sure to get your hand raised very, very quickly. And it looks like we do have a question. Thank you so much. Fast fingers.
Yeah, we actually had 2 questions come in. Tom had a follow-up question if crumb rubber requires different rolling requirements.
The only difference once you get out into the field with these types of mixes is that rubber tends to pick up rubber. So if you put a car tire or something across, on a car drives across a fresh mat before it's cooled off, it'll pull the fines out because it's real sticky, and it'll basically scar the mat up forever. So that kind of relates to the rolling in that basically you don't use pneumatic rollers. You only use steel wheel rollers. Now that's true of standard asphalt rubber ASTM D6114 type of binders. There are some hybrid binders out there that use lesser rubber percentages that can be compacted with conventional processes, and in those types of binders there would be no difference. So.
Okay, so Mark, talk to us about the Rubber Pavements Association. One of the wonderful things that associations can provide for their members is education. Not only on the technical specifications, but also on how to get the word out in the community. So when people come to you and say, hey, I really want to try this, but how do you combat any negative impressions on the product?
Well, first of all, asphalt rubber is not new. It's again, it was invented in the 60s, and it was early on it was patented. In the early 90s, the patents came off. And so it's an open technology available to anyone that wants to study it and come to the RPA, and we'll help you implement it. As far as the Rubber Pavements Association, we're a 501c6 trade association, and we're all about technology transfer. We don't do political lobbying and those sort of things. We're really about education, workshops, seminars like we're going to do tomorrow here at APWA. And we host other educational types of events. So I think when you talk about negatives, I hear a lot of negatives over the years that relate to different types of politics that went on, and it really comes down to education. I heard recently someone mentioned that a road caught on fire, and actually the story is that it was a fill made of crumb rubber chips that I think up in Oregon that actually was what caught on fire. It wasn't the asphalt paving process that caught on fire. And we hear a lot of these types of misinformation. There was as this technology was starting to show a lot of promise, there was a lot of different things tried, including a lot of dry processes, because that would be very easy to do in a lot of cases. And a lot of those projects did not perform well. And so I've run into people, they say, well, I've tried asphalt rubber and didn't work. And then you ask, well, what exactly did you do?
Right.
And it turns out to be something completely different than what we're talking about. Again, I'm talking about a binder modification process, some kind of a wet process, either through a terminal type of issue or out in the field. I'm not talking about dry, introducing it as a dry aggregate. Again, there have been recent advances, though, where in the dry aggregate arena, where the chrome rubber is actually pre-treated, and it's addressed a lot of the past issues. But this is something that's also coming on. So right now is a very exciting time for putting chrome rubber into asphalt, believe it or not. One of the big things that's driving this is the economics. Asphalt cement is gone in. I know in our area it's way over $600 a ton. And chrome rubber typically sells for half that. It's no big secret. It's just been that way for a long time. So when you start substituting something of much less cost, even just as a filler, it becomes very cost effective. And the great thing is you don't use it as a filler. You get a lot of really great benefits in the process.
Well, and you said exactly it. Misinformation. It happens. And part of the role of all of us in the public works community is to make sure that misinformation doesn't get out there, or if it does, that it gets corrected. So what has been the successful formula for introducing asphalt rubber into a new area?
The basic formula is really not that complicated. What you really need is, first of all, you don't want a bunch of out-of-stater type guys coming in and trying to tell people this is what you want to do. That obviously is a formula from disaster. What you really want is find local champions. If you can find a local champion in the technical arena, someone that's willing to take the time to educate themselves about the process and learn exactly how to do it. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, but you do have to maybe make some local modifications. The best example I can give you is the state of Nebraska. There was a fellow there that was the state research engineer back in the late 90s, and he recognized the potential for this. And he came to Arizona and learned a lot about it. We had a lot of people go up there and do educational promotion with him and seminars. And today, Nebraska has a full-blown program using tire rubber in their asphalt. It's a very successful story. It's probably one of the best ones I can give you. So.
Well, we appreciate all the stories that you have brought us today. Thank you so very much, Mark Belshe, who is the Executive Director of the Rubber Pavements Association. For everyone here in Anaheim, Mark has a session tomorrow morning. That's Wednesday, the 29th of August at 8:30 a.m. if you want to find out more information on rubberized asphalt. And that is in room 205AB. And for everyone at home, if you would like some more information about rubberized asphalt, Mark, where can we send them?
Real easy. You can go to rubberpavements.org, and or just if you just Google Rubber Pavements Association, you'll find we have we have the best library online with all sorts of peer-reviewed papers. And then there's also contact information. If you can't find what you're looking for, just click on my picture, and there's an email that'll pop up, and you can send us an email. We'll get right back to you. So we'd love to help you. Again, we're about technology transfer. This is what we do to try and help educate people on it. So.
Well, thank you for helping educate us. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going from rubberized asphalt to recycled glass. So be sure to come back at 12 noon Pacific time, where Steve Penshorn from the city of Austin, Texas, is going to talk to us about how to use recycled glass in your next project. We'll see you back here at 12 noon Pacific time.